problem?
This is Nigeria. Until we begin to change this narrative, how come the president did not intervene at the earlier stage? How come? That would have changed a lot of narratives. But why is it that Nigeria is going through this kind of issue? You talked about how come this is coming to Nigeria, Dangote is coming with the problem we are facing in this sector. So it's assumed that Nigeria will now bring the whole solution we all have envisaged as a people. But the business sector where Dangote to just go out there, enter a place and then dominate, even if it's going to affect Nigerians, it's even going to affect those consumers, let me use that word, maybe probably not only Nigerians. It's also going to affect consumers. But there are implications to all this. I've always warned. True.
What they are going through.
What they are going through. Probably they might have even faced worse than what Dangote refinery is facing. That's why, maybe that's why all our refinery government sector, that of government, the economic implication is that the price of petrol and the price of fuel keep rising. There's no competition. There's no competitiveness in that sector. That of government own is dead. That of Dangote own is being given the hype.
That competition you're talking about is another reason Nigerians were happy. Some Nigerians, embrace the idea of Dangote wanting to start up a refinery here.
It's almost sounding like it's just Dangote. Are you hearing any other person? And if you allow this to play out smoothly for him, even, let's be realistic. If it has also gone so easy and smooth for him, that is going to lead us into monopoly. And the economic implication is so huge.
What do you mean?
That what I mean by that is if you allow him to, if he takes it all, and then it drives us into monopoly. In that means he decides the price, he decides what to sell, he decides whatever.
But nobody is stopping. Do you think there are factors that are stopping other investors from coming into the
If a factor, if somebody who is rated as the richest person in Africa is facing this, the other person who is rated as somebody who will go and collect loan from the bank, what do you think will happen? You've even said it will just invite fear, it will invite huge fear in the person. Do you understand? So it shows that there are a lot of things going on in that sector, and that's why that sector is not bringing the level of output that is expected.
But one would want to ask the big question: why would you have a refinery in a country that produces? And how do you feel when you are selling something and somebody who is just in front of your house, on your land, is going to your neighbor's house to get these products that you're selling?
Out over this whole issue.
So now the president has made a statement concerning this. What do you think moving forward?
Good presidential intervention. That's what the president should have done. That's even what president should be doing. If Nigerians cry out, let it not only end up with Dangote. If we cry out that the electricity sector is not producing, is not coming, is not giving the level of output that is expected, the president should intervene. If we also cry out that the standard of living has even gone bad and all that, he should intervene.
They have been crying out about our refineries in Nigeria.
Good, they've even told us.
How much intervention have we seen?
They've even told us that the Port Harcourt refinery is going to be functional by this July.
Today's date is what? August.
Which August? Are they pushing it again to August? They started from May. Even from this studio, we analyze it when they say July. We're in July already.
Okay.
And nothing is happening.
I know from the last reports that we saw, I think they said August or so. But then, even though some months were mentioned, it was generally stated that before December. I will not.
You're a journalist. I will not also agree. I will not agree with that. Okay. In this studio, we read out where they say July. Before July, they gave us a month.
Yeah, we were given months last year too.
And now, it's like this Vision 2020. When we did achieve that, they say Vision 2030. Later, you hear Vision 2050. That's insincerity of government. In fact, why are we even considering it? Is it only Port Harcourt refinery we have? Why are we not talking about others? So it shows how bad the petroleum sector have gone. And that is even what gives us our national income. So how then do we increase our GDP? And then we are crying that the economy has gone bad. That's even
months that have been mentioned and the deadlines that we are given, that don't worry, by so time, by this month we'll have the refineries functional. Why are we not having so much intervention to that regard when that month comes and then we don't see what we were promised?
That's the failure of government. I think the president and all his cabinet have to work towards that. They have to wake up.
But then when we were reading, when we were discussing the reports about the newest reports now, about the Port Harcourt refinery being functional and all that before December, the guests who I had in studio then was of the opinion that the times when they had told us years before now that the Port Harcourt refinery will be functional, right? That was another administration. And now this is a different administration. And now
13 months, you're going to see, and you were specific. Port Harcourt refinery. He didn't say all the refineries. We are talking about one refinery. One. We say it's going to be producing. In fact, I got to a time they said, it's as if it's producing now. It's as if it's going to bring out its first product, so and so time and all that.
70% completion.
Why make statements when you are not sure?
So why do you think they're making statements if it's really not true that the refineries are not that complete?
When they made a statement that they were going to give us, they reversed back to the old national anthem. They did take 24 hours. So why are you making statements and then you are not fulfilling it? The one that will benefit the masses.
That's going to cost more. You can't compare it to national anthem change.
Cost more? You were not sure? You were not, cost more how? You have the money?
Setting up the refineries, you cannot compare the cost with changing the national anthem.
Okay, let me ask you. Can you also tell us, at there times government have said this, we gave this month, but because of these and that challenges, we were not able to meet up.
We've not had that time.
Have they come, even the July they didn't meet up? What, please, you're a journalist, what did they give as reason?
So we've not had that time.
Nigerians should begin to know why you didn't meet up, and we understand it. It's not you come and tell me it will work in May. May didn't work out. You came up with June didn't work. You said July. Now you're saying between now and December. After December, who knows another month? You know, okay, before the end of our administration, and we enter into another political era.
Is our challenge the refinery is not coming up, or the fact that we're not being carried along and the explanations are not being given?
All of them. The refineries aren't coming up. Then the masses are left in the dark. I don't even know why it's not coming up. There's this communication bridge. We don't even have why is it not coming up? Is it because the East-West Road is bad? Is it because some hoodlums? Is it because somebody is stealing from there? The money that was even spent by the former administration, what happened to it? So the money could not
rehabilitation.
What happened to all the money that have been thrown into that
now,
place?
That's even another recommendation that some people are coming up with. Because time and time again, we keep hearing, oh, rehabilitation of this refinery, this amount of money was spent on this refinery, and at the end of the day, we don't see the project, you know, coming to light.
To private firm.
All right.
Sell it off, possibly.
Okay. Thank you so much for your thoughts on that one. Let's look at the next story now. The federal government on Monday has said that critical sections of the East-West Road have been tackled and that vehicles have the help of the said tackle. The Minister of Works, Senator Dave Umahi, disclosed this while briefing State House correspondents at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting that was presided over by President Bola Tinubu at the Council Chamber, Presidential Villa in Abuja. He also said that the Akure-Ilesha Road, which is 150 kilometers by 2, has been awarded to high-tech construction at the cost of 525 billion naira. He further said that the FEC gave approval for the rehabilitation of the Abeokuta-Iboro-Laro Road in Ogun State at the cost of 57 billion naira to Strabic Construction. Now, these are the road projects that have been given approval this period. And then we have heard in the news even before now that the East-West Road construction has begun, right? That's the, yes, rehabilitation of that road and all of that. But you are a resident of Port Harcourt, so you probably must have experienced the issues that some people have been facing on that East-West Road, where they say when their vehicles break down, they have to stay there for 2 days, and they have to stay there for days, and this has affected businesses in a very big way, and then food products and economy. In fact, let me just get your thoughts on this story.
If the government, those in government can hear me, I will not applaud them for this kind of statement.
Why?
Yeah, I have my reason. I don't even want to. In fact, whoever that is making the statement, no, I'm not clapping for you. You have not said anything. You're coming back to tell us this. Why am I saying so? The whole thing about the East-West Road began under the administration of President Yaradua, late Yaradua. Late Yaradua. That's if it didn't even begin under then under Tinubu's administration. Somebody is still telling us, don't worry, it has is now motorable, it's like this, and we should keep clapping. Remember, the then Minister of Works had always told us same stories. In fact, I got to an extent, they handed over the East-West Road to NDDC. At the time when people began to agitate, the former Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, came up. In fact, we're giving them this and all that. These are stories.
Isn't this what we have been waiting to
We want to see results. Don't talk. Give us results. We will just clap.
How do you get results if the construction does not begin?
It has begun under the administration of Yaradua. That's President Yaradua.
That's what we're saying. At some point, it felt like nothing was happening there anymore. In fact, we had some people saying that the company that was working there, they are carpenters. There were allegations like that because they felt like they're not doing enough. But now we are having the government telling us that, look, construction has begun here.
But I've just told you.
Is that not what we have been wanting to hear? That the issues are being fixed.
They've been telling us this kind of stories. We don't even want to hear again. We want to see.
This is a new administration.
1 year gone, you're still telling us it's motorable. We have one for this administration. The other one will be politics.
What do you mean?
The other one, we're in Nigeria. We have 1 year for the real business of governance to take place. After that, they start trying to lure people into voting.
When you want to impress the people, you do things for them.
You have come back to what I'm saying. Do so much. Stop talking so much. That's my point.
So you're saying that we should not be told when it begins. It should not be in the news until when it has been completed. Then we can come and say, oh, the East-West Road has finally been completed.
Can I come back to Rivers State? The issue of Eleme section of the East-West Road. The minister came up and told us they've started. And then right there I was told, somebody said, one of those in government said, we are almost done with this West Road. And then it took someone's courage to stand up to say, no, Mr. President, nothing is happening there. And then they gave a time frame. That area must be completed between this time and all that. What happened?
But we have had so many recommendations and commendations concerning Dave Umahi, the Minister of Works.
Okay, let's give it to Dave Umahi. Let's wait for Dave Umahi to achieve all this. But I think, Dave Umahi, please talk less. Let your results speak for you. We're used to this, and I don't even think we should continue in that.
You don't think the bridge that we have, or the delay that we had in the completion of that road also has anything to do with the states that are involved?
Did Dave Umahi come out to tell us that? In fact, the former governor, now the FCT minister, at the time he said he was bargaining with the federal government. The Ndoroma should bring a certain amount. Why the government will bring a certain amount? What happened? At the time he came on air and said he has brought his own Ndoroma. Where is your own? What happened? What happened? So I think it should get to a stage where we should stop making money from telling Nigerians good stories.
I'm even talking about the state governors, that's the states that are affected now, the state governors coming together to make sure that the road is completed. Having in mind that even though the country is affected and our economy is affected in general, it does not change the fact that we are even most affected or more affected, having been that it is our states that are involved.
Yeah, I think I will also agree with you to an extent, because there was a time the government, was it under the administration of Muhammad Buhari, gave some governors some reforms for constructing state roads. You understand?
Federal roads.
Federal roads, sorry. Federal roads. And if the current administrations in all the Niger Delta states can just come up to say, okay, let's embark on some of the federal roads that are very useful to our states, I think that will also be of help. That will also be of help. But the governors will always tell you, we don't even have money for our own projects, and then you want us to give kudos to...
Talking about governors who don't have money for their own projects, do you think these governors in these affected states will be mentioned in any way?
Will they tell you they don't have...
We're talking about River State here.
What happened during the time of minimum wage? Didn't you even hear so many governors coming up to tell you?
That's what I'm saying, not these governors.
Will they tell you they have money? They won't tell you economic downturn have affected us and all that. But the truth is that these things ought not to be so. Ought not to be so. It's for the development of this.
Aims to enhance efficiency, reduce corruption, improve transparency, and bring Nigeria's public sector in line with global best practices in e-governance. Speaking during the opening of a digitalization training program for staff of the Office of the Vice President, Senator Hassan Hadeja, the Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, recognized the urgent need to transform government operations using digital technologies. Now, in his words, if you have a state house that is digitalized or has gone paperless, it's going to definitely be different, and every agency and everybody would be forced to comply. He stressed that compliance must be enforced across all ministries, departments, and agencies to ensure the initiative's success. Earlier, State House Permanent Secretary Mr. Olusegun Adebi said that the State House decided to set up a training center to enhance efficiency amongst its workers. He added that more training will be organized periodically for staff members. And Adebi also announced the procurement of 500 desktop computers and the establishment of a training center within the State House to enhance staff productivity. Now the government's going for its workers. Paperwork, we've been complaining, oh, why are we taking papers? Why are we taking paper to this office and then we'll take it to the other office? Or when would we actually go digital, especially when we talk about our government workers? And now this is a step towards that direction.
I'm even surprised the State House is still carrying fire. The Deputy Chief of Staff is even saying that. He said they want to do that for the State House. It's not even like doing it in maybe across the nation, all government parastatals. But if that's extended, it will also be very nice. For me, I support that angle. It's very important. It's very important we do that. Some federal government-owned institutions have gone into that. In fact, there is a particular federal government hospital around us that recently I experienced such move. And it was so nice. I went to see a doctor and I was asking for my file. I said, please, funny enough.
In the government hospital?
Yeah, in the government hospital. And I was waiting for about 30 minutes for them to give me my file. So at the time, it wasn't forthcoming. I said, what's happening to my file? I went there, the lady said, oh God, just go. I said, just go. I thought it was just a normal...
The normal way you take your file yourself.
So when I got in, I realized that I just sat down and I was waiting for when my file would come. They called me. The lady was an advanced woman. It was appended to. The next thing, I was being called in. It hasn't helped the country in this modernized era. It hasn't. As a developing country, we should move beyond that.
But you're calling for it to be extended.
Yeah.
Do you see that as something that's viable? It's possible. But looking at our system, is it viable? For different reasons. I know you mentioned an elderly woman going through the computer and all of that. But the truth is, we have a lot of these workers. Some of them are elderly, and a lot of them are not really conversant with technology, with computers and all that. So do you see it as being viable? And aside that, also looking at the fact that when it has to do with government property, sustainability is another thing. It's beautiful to start, you know, commendable. But when you talk about sustainability, it becomes another topic. People not wanting to take care of these properties, even though they are put in charge of it, because it's not their private property. And then you start hearing that, oh, system is hanging, or you start hearing issues with the... But let's just look at how viable and how sustainable you think this will be.
You know, one other major challenge that we face has to do with the telecommunications sector.
Okay.
Nigeria have not been doing very well in that angle. Ordinarily, with your phone, you want to browse something. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes no network. In fact, there is one other particular network. Personally, I have not had network for 5 days. And now, if I'm using that to operate in an office, what happens? So, when you look at this whole thing, a lot has to be done in Nigeria. A lot. Then when you talk about the issue of some persons maybe are not computer literate and all that, it calls for employment generation. Try to create employment. Bring up the youths. Bring up the youths. Flood the youths in different sectors. And why you know you're going into this? The youths, train the youths.
Why does it look like we don't have so many youths in this system?
That's because...
When we look at government workers, we are looking at people who are almost retiring.
Yeah, that's because for long, over 8 years now, there's been this embargo on employment through the federal system. They've not even lifted that embargo. So it has been some person. In fact, outside in River State, for instance, outside the administration of Rotimi Amechi, when he employed about 13,000 teachers and others, since then they have not been implemented, apart from the minor side of it. So this have affected the system so much. That's why we are left with that category.
Even looking at the MBS report that talked about the very small percentage of people who are workers, who are civil servants, that happen to have gotten the job via merit.
Okay.
And they called a very large percentage that came in via corruption.
Okay.
Or malpractice.
That also happened.
So we have had cases of people who want to get into the civil service, and you're told, oh, for this particular ministry is this amount. For this ministry, okay, is lesser. But this other ministry, you pay higher. And you hear amounts like 500,000. You hear hundreds of thousands that people are saying that they were asked to pay. I know someone who said that for her to get in, but she actually got in because she had the money to pay. So you're paying a large sum of money for you to get a job. So if you had that kind of money, then why do you even need a job in the first place?
You know why that's happening? It tells you how much more the economy has gone bad. So everybody is looking for every little opportunity you want to make money out of it. You understand? It's only the media, maybe the journalists, that I'm not going into that. If not, just by talking to you now, you tell me before you talk about this topic, give me something. But it hasn't been happening in that sector. You go to the education sector. You didn't attend class. Some of the lecturers are engaged in that. They attend class, okay, come. How much do you have? That's because even the man who is teaching you wants to survive. So what are the means of survival? So the person who is in charge of employment wants to gain something. He wants to survive.
Wants to survive at the detriment of the survival
good,
of another
and that's also leading us to corruption. And then the person whom you are asking to pay this money have never worked, does not have money. That may also lead the person into stealing, crime. And that's why the economy keeps deteriorating. And then the federal government they are not even doing this, they are not even lifting embargo on employment. Why people are graduating every year? People are passing out of NYSC every month, if not every 3 months. And then graduates are flooded everywhere. Let me shock you. In the next 5-8 years, the set of persons you're seeing in civil service won't be there again. By civil service standard. That's because of the time they were employed. They might either have gone into retirement and then the place is left empty. Right now, just few persons are working. That's why when you get there, you just see large number of advanced persons and less number of, except even most of the young persons you see are casuals.
Besides that, you get to see only few people there.
Yes, and that's the problem.
Some offices are empty. You hear they're not around. He comes once in a week and things like
that.
So
what's happening? Why is the federal government not doing anything about employment generation?
The funny part is that we still hear that there's still a lacuna. There's still a gap. Do you understand? There's still vacancies. That's what I'm trying to say now.
A lot.
So there's a lot of vacancy, and yet it's not so easy because of some bad eggs in the system. So what do you think that we can do to help to eradicate completely, if possible, or reduce the level of corruption that we have in the government work system?
Okay, one of it is this, what the deputy chief of staff is trying to
So you think this digitalization?
Yeah, I agree to that 100%. It will help, but the challenge is has to do with part of the persons we have now. Again, the persons that are existing are also being threatened by the other youths coming in.
How do you mean?
Yeah. You want to bring this style of digitalization and all that. And you know, as an advanced person, I'm not used to computer.
Can they be trained?
Trained? At that level? Yeah. How effective? So if I'm not effective, it means the other person who is more effective, faster, and knows it more will be termed as being more productive. So they are being threatened. They are humans. That's even the Nigerian factor. So
we cannot keep using papers for a long time.
Yes, if you are,
we have to. I mean, you talked about the fact that you were even surprised that they're still using papers in the first place. For us to now be hearing the news that there's now an advancement in that aspect.
These are issues.
We can't keep using papers for long.
These are issues that have even hindered development. Because the person who is there is being threatened by the other person coming in. Who knows, they might give you a higher position because you know how to do it. So whenever they go to a board meeting, they discourage that. Do you understand? It happens. It happens. In fact, even in several areas where you're going in, you want to sign your name. You use paper. They are still using paper. Can't we throw out all those issues? It's possible, but again, the person, sometimes the person who is in charge doesn't even want to spend money. Or probably I want to spend money, I just want them to see. Or sometimes there are things I've done each time. Corruption also happens. There are things I've done probably because I don't even want everybody to take notes. It's easy for me to bring it out from the paper and then fix in another.
It's also very easy for you to delete from a system. All you have to do is click delete.
Oh, now
let's take some time off now. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, the conversation will continue. We have another story to look at, other stories to look at, and I'm looking at the protest now. But after the break, please stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on The Fact Today, only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
you human trafficker.
Honorable they are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
So no agreement with the EU, but
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is what's the blood.
I have fought very firmly.
Natural occurrence, war, and the world economy.
I belong to everybody, and I belong to nobody.
ATN covers it all on ATN Politics today.
Thank you so much for staying right here with us. Thank you so much for staying right here with us. We are back to continue the conversation. It has been heated and interesting in the studio. We're talking about the story about protests now. Now, ahead of the proposed nationwide protest, the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, has directed Vice Chancellors to ensure the security and safety of staff and students of their domain. This is contained in a circular issued by the Acting Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, NUC, Chris Mayaki, dated July 28, to newsmen in Abuja on Monday. The minister also urged students to remain on campus and focus on their academic pursuits, so as to avoid exposure to any potential danger during the planned protest. Before I tell you what my thoughts are, I see the story, let me get to yours first. The education minister taxing VCs on the safety of students and staff of their domain.
It's normal. It's normal. I think he's also trying to be human. Let's not hear that because of the protests, students, how they behave. So students gave up. Sorry, this happened and all that. So he's trying to also play the fatherly role as the Minister of Education.
Okay.
It's important. I don't see anything in that angle, but okay. I also feel we should even go more.
What do you mean?
More by directing the VCs and others on the welfare of the students.
How?
And then the staff also.
By welfare, in what aspect?
What's the result of the... Why are they protesting? Why do they want to protest? Even the education sector is part of the problem. Why did you increase school fees to that extent? What's the reason?
The economy.
The economy. The persons who are now paying that, are they coming from the sky?
Because we had the student union government of the University of Port Harcourt, and he told us how they had a meeting and they had to explain to them that look at what's going on because of the economy. We can no longer do the things that we used to do before. Everything is now expensive. So because of these things, we want to increase the school fees.
Then if I were to be, I would ask him, what did you answer? What did you tell them? Did you tell them that now that they want to increase school fees, your parents or your own, you are now getting more money from the same economy? Okay, what are the new things they are doing? What
How
are
much funding are these schools really getting from the federal government?
What are they really doing? Have you not heard about, is it PTF and all that, all the money that is being sent? And all that. So the school fees and all that, what are you really doing?
These guys have been complaining about lack of funding from the federal government. Maybe not lack, but not enough funding from the federal government. Is that not why we've been having ASU going on in in-season strikes?
And then they stop. The funds.
And now imagine the state of the economy. If everybody is affected, it simply means that the running of the schools also affected.
The point here is...
We cannot even start discussing what they do with the money or what they buy because we're not in the system, so we might not be able to mention in details.
The point here is that the students you are taxing, what are they getting? What changed from their own angle? What happened to free education? Are you chasing people away from education? And you want the country to grow. You want the economy to be better. What are the new curriculum you put in place? In such a way that by the end of that education section, those, what's it called, academic careers and all that, you just come in and get a job. So what have you put in place?
What we should be looking at, when you say what have you put in place, we should be looking at the federal government now. We should understand that when we're talking about these lecturers, we're talking about different people from the federal government.
No, what I said here, it was the minister who directed the vice chancellors to ensure the safety of students and the staff. I said, that's good. But I also would have thought he will go as far as directing the vice chancellor. So the minister is part of the Federal Executive Council. So he is also speaking as the presidency.
Yes.
So he should have gone as far as directing the VCs to go into actions that will make the students not even join the protest. That's what I think. Go ahead, announce to the student that onwards we are reducing your school fees by 50% or even free education. No student will come out to join that protest.
That means before we can even say that, it's more like something has to be done.
Something has to, because
we have to tell the schools that we are releasing this amount of funds to every university so that they can reduce the school fees. Do you understand?
What are you even...
Because you cannot say the same amount that is coming in that they are complaining is not enough. Then this one that they are using to cushion the effect of the funding that's not enough, then you tell them reduce it by 50%.
You know, you've been particular about funding.
Yes.
Who gets those funds?
Because we have been having that conversation for a long time.
Who gets the fund?
When we had ASU on strike and all of that. Yes.
Who gets the fund?
What's your point?
The fund goes directly to who? How does it affect the students? Ordinarily, it's supposed to affect the students by changing their curriculum, by changing their standard of learning, by bringing in things, teaching them things that by the time you're out of the university, you can be even self-employed, self-reliance. But what happens? What do you teach them? Chapter 1 to 8 is this. Go and read up. Then at the end of it, you're telling the person you wrote this exam, you didn't make it, and all that, give me something. As if the university system has become a means for some persons to begin to generate money.
Wait. There are some lecturers that do that.
Is it not obvious?
It's shocking.
Very obvious.
It's shocking to me to hear that some lecturers would say chapter 1.
Have you not even seen?
Tell you to go and read.
You're a journalist. Have you not seen in the media lecturers that are brought out? Probably they are because of sex for grade and all. Have you not heard such stories?
Because what I have heard and what I have seen, because investigations, I had a lot of investigations as regards this ASU strike and the rest of them.
Okay.
And talking about the curriculum, I had one advocate for against funding ASU, that's giving them their demands and all that. And he kept saying, why don't you change the curriculum?
Yeah.
It is outdated, which everybody knows. What your grandfather learned is almost like what you're learning in 2024. So why don't you change the curriculum? When you change the curriculum, then you can boldly ask the federal government to fund the new curriculum.
Exactly.
Because how do we fund an outdated curriculum that does not produce graduates that are adding, you know, to the society, graduates who will come out and be independent instead of dependent on the society? That is his view.
Okay.
So we actually had to call a member of ASU to hear from their own side. What is this whole situation about? And this man told us, and also looking at ASU's demands, even right from 2009, ASU has said, this curriculum is outdated. Give us an improved curriculum. Work on our curriculum. So it's more like ASU telling the federal government to work on the curriculum. Federal government asking ASU to. So the whole back and forth has just been a very sorry situation. And I said sorry situation because the students are the ones who are affected at the end of the day.
Exactly. And you also know that if you change the curriculum, the lecturers, the teachers, every person in that education sector will be forced to go and change their textbooks. The books you've written all will become outdated. That's also the implication. That may also hinder that issue. This is a revelation. Once you change it, because if you have written on draw butterfly and label, and then the curriculum have changed to construct butterfly, and now, you're writing on that.
Remember, for the new curriculum updated, following the world standard, there are some equipments that will be needed, and the laboratories will need to be improved. Not just labs now. All of these practicals will need to be improved. So for practicals to be improved, there are some equipments that are needed, and that means more funding.
Exactly.
So even updating the curriculum will still channel it back to funding.
I agree. And that will benefit the students, isn't it? In this case, you're funding and you're seeing results. Right now, they've been funding. In fact, they've gone on strike the last time, and then there was this whole agitation that we want to bring fund and all that. We are building. That's all you hear. They are building, and the rest in, you don't even see the money. Go to the classrooms. Just very few are using AC. And even the AC you're using, what are you using to learn? The school fees they are paying, what are you using it for? Maybe to pay the lecturers? At the end of all those payments, this is the point. At the end of all those payments, when I leave that institution, what do I gain outside? I'll then bounce back to, if you know, one uncle or brother to be able to fix you somewhere. No job. So we have to change this whole system in the education sector, not just calling that the students should not join the strike. Do you know there are some persons in the campus who have not even eaten since morning or since yesterday? And you're telling the person, if you see something to protest against the government, please just sit down there. You should sit down and die. That's the point. The minister should go far beyond making statements to ordering the vice chancellors on the welfare of the students, welfare of the staff. What are their welfare? In fact, go now, some of them do not even have tables. Some of them are relying on their salary. The salary they got yesterday haven't even finished today because of high standard of living. And you're telling the person, don't join protests against bad government. Maybe probably when he was even making that statement, one coffee, one chicken, another may have been around him. And then you're telling the other person who have not seen food not to. So it's good to say that. It's good to protect the people. It's good to protect the students. It's even good to discourage the students from joining protests because theirs turns to something else. But I also think the federal government should go beyond that.
Briefly.
Channel it into the welfare of the students.
All right, briefly, before we move to the next story about the protests now. I don't know if you have noticed, but we have had too many calls against this protest. In fact, the other day we heard in the news, Tinubu's daughter, I don't know how many times we hear her in the news, that she had to go tell market women to tell their children not to protest. Different state governors are telling their youth not to protest. Different groups are saying we're not going to join the protest. NAN's saying we're not going to join the protest, and a whole lot of that. It's looking like we're having too many calls against the protest. And some people are beginning to think there's more to it. Because it's looking like the youths are being warned against something.
There's this fear of the protests being hijacked. Apart from being hijacked by hoodlums, there's also this due to insecurity within the country. There's also this fear of the protests leading to violence. Because a hungry man is an angry man. So there are these fears of who knows what this might result from what happened in the answers. Then some of the politicians might become targets. There are buildings, you know, you're protesting. Why are you protesting? I'm hungry. I have nothing. Then you are now passing and you see a politician being driven in one big luxurious
even the IVP
vehicles.
talked about some foreign mercenaries. Intelligence report telling them that some foreign mercenaries might get involved in the protest.
Anything of that.
The protest, rather.
Anything of that could come up.
All right.
But the issue is this: why allow this protest why allow things to degenerate to this extent? Why would the government allow things to degenerate to this extent?
So talking about the government now allowing things to degenerate, we're talking about government from a long time ago down to. Because this administration have told us that they inherited.
So why did why did they come out to contest? Why did you take over? You took over because things are bad, and you told us you can do it.
And do we expect them to awaken a dead economy in 1 year?
Then why are you not communicating with the people? What have you told the people?
They're not communicating enough.
You're a journalist. How many times have we had presidential chats, media chats? What are you telling the people? Why are you not telling them this is what we've done? These are what we are planning to do. This is what we will achieve. These are the things that are coming up. Why are you not telling the people anything? There's this bridge in communication. The government is not talking to the people. The people are talking to the government. The government does not want to hear. So what do you expect? Up till now, the president should have addressed the nation. And I've said it. Call for immediate implementation of certain developmental strides. Go ahead. Order for manufacturing, order for industrialization, order for the agricultural sector to move on. Order for different sectors, the health sectors, let everything begin immediately. We've had the situation of this country calls for urgent attention. But why are you quiet? You're just there telling people don't protest, don't do this. What have you started addressing those issues?
The family matter.
So these are problems. And the president is still quiet. The Minister of Information just came up and said, the protest is don't do this. Why should they not do it? Go and tell the people.
Because it's a family matter.
I need the government to come up, tell the people these are reasons. Don't tell me it will lead to this. It all boils down to, maybe the president is afraid. Those who are eating are afraid and all that. Come up and tell them what they should hear. We are doing this. I'm assuring you between now and so time we are doing this. What's your anger? Hunger? Okay, don't come and share rice. What are you sharing rice for?
But you just said hunger is the problem.
Hunger is the problem. So why are you sharing rice? After eating now, what will I eat tomorrow? Why? Why not you come up? Okay, they came up with the Empower program where you say some persons are going to
50,000 naira. They said they'll share to.
Where are they? Somebody was even being probed of what's it called, Empower money. What happened? Why are you not talking to the people? You're telling them it's no protest, no protest. Who will you blame? I will blame the government in all of this. And they should come up. The government has to stand up. A lot is happening. And somebody just sitting down there. The other last time somebody was just, all you hear on our mandate. Mandate on what? So they have to come up. A lot is going wrong in the country and they are not saying anything.
Right, this next story is supposed to be a different topic on its own. But I'll tell you how Nigerians are kind of linking this to the protest. The Nigerian Communications Commission has ordered telecommunication operators and telcos to immediately restore all phone lines that have been blocked due to non-linkage of national identification numbers to SIM cards. Now, Ruben Moka, the Director of Media and Public Affairs, disclosed this on Monday. You would recall that many Nigerians were agitated over what they perceived as restrictions by the NCC, which they felt were attempts to frustrate the August planned protests. Now, in a statement that was released by the NCC, Moka stated that many telecom subscribers and consumers were unable to access their phone lines because of the inability of many telecom consumers to verify their NIN. What do you make of this?
You know, sometimes I just feel some persons in position of trust do not think. Who carried out this blocking? Who? You just wake up one morning and then you decide to disconnect people. No notice. Why are we lawless in this country? No notice. You did not even send anybody any message. And there are sometimes you just switch off the network. Like right now, there's a particular network in this country. I personally, even as I'm sitting here, I don't have network for 5 days. Who will hold them? Who will I hold responsible? And then you just wake up one morning, disconnect people, and in the economy we're trying to build, that's even some person's means of livelihood. Then people are agitating of hunger.
But let's not forget that when this whole NIN talks came out, there were deadlines that were placed at that time.
And then we surpass the deadline. Right now, why didn't you give deadline? You didn't give deadline, you didn't send notice, you didn't even tell anybody anything. In fact, I've said it that maybe probably those telecommunication companies, it's been long the experienced crowd in their various offices. So it means they've been lonely, so lonely that they needed people to come. Let it be as if they are also working. Then one person, I've always said it, you know, like electricity sector, the whole thing, oh, light have gone, is because one person went to switch off what the whole masses are using. One person. So probably one person have also gone down to that place, just press something and say, let's block them. Unfortunately, so many persons that have even registered, that have even linked their we are also blocked.
Oh, really?
Yes. So who pays for this? Something happened at a time in this country. I think the lawyers should also have to stand up, not about this PDP, APC thing and all that. The lawyers have to stand up. Something happened in this country at a time where network, we didn't have network for 20, it was not 24 hours, few hours, and somebody took the telecommunication company to court. At the time, they were not sending persons airtime and all that as compensation because the person won in court. The person said, I lost billion with just these few times. And then you're coming out to block people's line outside the protest.
Do you see any connection with the protest like people have claimed?
Whatever it is, whosoever that did that wasn't thinking right. It's also possible. Why do that now? Now that the tension is high. It could be linked to anything. And now, okay, you did that. Could you say we didn't even have a Minister of Telecommunication or we didn't have a Minister of Communication? Whatever name they want to call it. Or we didn't even have presidency. You didn't tell anybody. You just went ahead to disconnect. And after then, they are now coming out to say we are giving order. Who is deceiving who in this country? We are giving order. You have to bring it back. Where were you when they disconnected?
You think they took permission from...
So they didn't take permission.
Communication with the NCC.
They didn't take permission and nobody is being penalized for that. Should we continue like this as a country and all the sectors are deteriorating?
Are these telecommunication companies not independent?
They are independent?
It's a question.
They cannot stand, they are independent, they cannot abide by the rules? Or they just act the way they wish? And then, okay, if they're independent, why are you directing them to bring it back? They are independent and you cannot tell them what to do. So why are you directing them to bring it back? So I think somebody somewhere need to be punished for this.
Okay, so we need to start seeing that punishments are
penalties
are going up.
Exactly, we need to start seeing that. We need to start seeing people being punished. Maybe somebody also made money. Who knows? Whether there is somebody whom the person wanted to stop from making money from a particular business, him or her. I'm just alleging. Him or her is involved and say, okay, let me just switch it off and then tag it to everybody. And then the person
for those state governors that are saying that their youth will not protest, nobody's protesting in this place. Nobody's like the father. Nobody's protesting in this house. And then, don't you think that they are taking off the rights of these individuals to protest?
The elites are just afraid. Even if I may not stand here to say I support the protest, no.
Okay, you don't support the protest.
I won't say I support the protest. If it goes to the violent aspect, my fear is the violent aspect of it. Do you understand? And now, outside that, everybody have the right to protest. Aside the violent aspect of it. But the government have even failed in that aspect to allow this protest to this extent. Because the people have genuine reason. Do you understand? So if the governors are coming out to say, don't protest in this place, it shows the allies are afraid. If you're telling me not to protest, tell me that this is the reason why you're naked. Let me give you clothes. Other than telling go from there naked, but you're just abusing.
Shouting.
Yes, you're just abusing the person. Give the person clothes. Provide clothing for the person.
Okay, at this point, I would like to say thank you so much, Dandy, for joining us. It has been an interesting conversation with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you.
And we must thank you, our viewer, for being a part of this conversation. Wouldn't have been possible without you. We'll do this again tomorrow, same time. Don't forget that we are open for sponsorship and partnerships. Stay connected with us on all of our socials on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, and on X at Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Thank you again. I am Enidoye Jackson. Coming up next is Open Conversation. Please stay with us.